So, hey everyone, I'm Elizabeth Hargrave. I'm the president of the Mycological Association of Washington, D.C., and welcome to our monthly meeting. Tonight, I'm going to go through a little bit of club news and some fungi that have been in the news lately. Mitch Fournier is going to do our ID table for the month with a little bonus from Annie Weissman update on her fall mushroom bingo. Michael Weiss is going to talk about making mushroom tinctures, and Aaron Hoffman is here to talk about cloning fungi on agar so you can propagate them from there. First up in club news, we had our mushroom fair at Brookside Gardens this middle of October, and it was a big success. The Brookside Gardens folks told us we had over 800 people come through. It was a lot of fun. We had many walks through the grounds, one an hour. We had people coming by the display table. We had forays the day before, so lots of mushrooms already on the table, even when we got going on the day of the fair, and lots of information up for people to look at and folks for people to talk to about mushrooms. So that was a lot of fun. Big kudos to Bruce Boyer, who organized it this year, and to the many, many volunteers who helped out. It definitely takes a big crew to run an event this size. So thank you all for helping. And if you missed it this year, please come out next year. It's a lot of fun. And the date for next year is going to be October 16th, which Tom McCoy tells me is actually World Mushroom Day. I did not know World Mushroom Day existed, but now I do, and we accidentally scheduled our mushroom fair for it, so that'll be fun. A bunch of other save the dates for next year. I started looking these up. Our big weekend foray, Labor Day weekend, is up in Jennerstown, Pennsylvania, at a camp called Sequanota. That was a big success this year, so we went ahead and scheduled it for Labor Day again next year, which will be September 1 through 4. And because that's a holiday weekend, I want to make sure people get it on their schedules and hold that weekend to go look at mushrooms. But if you can't do that, or if you want to do other mushroom events around the same time, there are a bunch. And these are all great events. There's the West Virginia Mushroom Club has their annual foray at Blackwater Falls State Park in West Virginia. That's always a really lush area for mushrooms. A great group of people. A lot of people go out there from DC. So you'll see other MAW members there for sure. That's August 10th through 13th. And then the North American Mycological Association, which is the club of all the mushroom clubs in North America, they have an annual foray. It happens to be right up against ours this year, but it's close enough that you might want to go. Hendersonville, North Carolina. It's August 24th through 27th. And then after ours, at the end of September, the Western Pennsylvania Club always has a foray in September named after Gary Linkoff, who was someone who inspired many of us in the mushroom world. And that'll be September 29th through 30th. Board nominations. This is the month that I am obligated to take nominations from the floor. If anyone wants to be on the board of MAW or nominate someone for the board of MAW, but we already have a slate put together. So if we don't get any other nominations from the floor, this will be the slate of people that I will send out to you for a vote. We are obligated by our bylaws to have the membership vote on the board, and that will be in mid-November. So I'll send this out and hopefully with a little bit of information about each person, and y'all can take a look. But please do reach out if you are interested in getting more involved, either as part of next year's board, or I'm sure we can rope you in other ways too. In fact, that's my next slide. So we're gonna have with the new board a big planning meeting coming up soon, and we want to hear from folks about what we ought to be doing in 2023, and particularly what you could be helping make happen for the club, because we cannot necessarily do a lot more than we're already doing as the group that we are on the board, but we're happy to rope other folks in who have ideas, who want to make things happen. We have a budget from all of your membership fees, so think creatively about what else we could be doing to engage people with mushrooms and help everyone learn and enjoy the world of fungi. We would love to hear your ideas, especially if it's something that you want to spearhead. We don't necessarily have people to throw at something if you're not going to head it up. But do reach out. We would love to have some new ideas about things we could be doing. All right, so some of the news items that have come through in the last month. There was an Amanita poisoning in Massachusetts that was quite a close call, and it made a lot of news stories in the Massachusetts press and actually made People magazine for some reason. But it was a mother and son from Malaysia who were used to picking paddy straw mushrooms in Malaysia. They saw Amanita phalloides here in Massachusetts and thought that it was paddy straw, picked it, cooked it up, and were very sick within a few hours. And then following the typical Amanita poisoning course of symptoms, it got a little bit better, but then a couple of days later, they were in the hospital with liver failure, both of them. They gave them this drug, Legalon. This is a box of capsules that are sold sort of for general liver health, but there is an investigational drug that is the same drug, but a much higher dose, delivered IV for 24 hours. That they have been trying for Amanita poisoning. It seems very promising, but there's not enough cases, so it hasn't been officially approved by FDA, I think, because they just don't have the number of cases in the sample yet. So I guess this was two more. The son recovered just with the administration of the Legalon. The drug was enough, but the mom did end up needing a liver transplant, but neither of them died. So it is a success story in that sense. But mushrooms with a big cup on the bottom like this, which we call a vulva, be very, very cautious. It is a very dangerous group of mushrooms in the United States, and not necessarily everywhere else. So something to be aware of. The World Health Organization just put out a list of priority fungal pathogens. Apparently they did this for bacteria recently, and now they've done the fungi. And these are all sort of microorganisms that can be human pathogens, but may also exist in the soil and just out there in the world. They usually harm people or get established in people who have suppressed immune systems with HIV or cancer or things like that. But they're trying to draw attention to the fact that some of these are becoming drug resistant, and there are actually very few antifungal drugs to treat them. So WHO is sort of trying to draw attention and hopefully get some more research to help people that are infected with these fungal pathogens. This is an element of fungi that we don't talk about that often, but lots of microorganisms out there that play entirely different roles in the ecosystems than the stuff that we're normally talking about. There were there was a big article in the New York Times that came through my news recently, but now I'm seeing the byline date on it is actually earlier this year, but it popped back up in my feed for some reason that there have been several studies over the last couple of years sort of doing placebo-controlled trials of the concept of microdosing psilocybin. So we've talked a lot about how incredibly successful the trials of high doses of psilocybin have been for treating many different mental health conditions, including treatment-resistant depression and alcoholism. But there have been a lot of people pushing to do microdosing as sort of an everyday thing that you could do that would help your mental health. And the placebo controlled trials that have been done in the last few years have not been finding any treatment effect from microdosing at the doses that they have been testing. So check out that article if you're interested in that topic. This is an article on research that was done in Korea about cultivated cordyceps. So there's medicinal species of cordyceps that is being overharvested in Asia. And the scientists who did the study specifically said that they were trying to improve cultivation of cordyceps to help alleviate some of that overharvesting. And they tested out, it's often cultivated on brown rice. And what they found in this study is that as a substrate, brown rice does not actually result in mushrooms with a lot of the chemical of interest in them, and that growing the mushrooms on insect larvae, which is how the mushrooms would grow in the wild, results in a lot more of the active chemical that people want in the cordyceps. And furthermore, they found that it really matters which insect larvae you grow them on. So the ones that had really big spikes in the cordycepin were this Colby beetle and this rhinoceros beetle that are both cultivated as edible insects in Asia, and they are high in oleic acid. And that seems to be the thing that was correlated with high levels of cordycepin being present in the cordyceps that was growing on those insects. So I know there's a lot of cordyceps being marketed as medicinal mushrooms. If those are all being cultivated on brown rice, they may not be as medicinal as people expect them to be. I'm sure we'll see more developments from this. This got picked up in Forbes and some other media outlets. So people are definitely paying attention to this research. The Washingtonian had a nice article about people cultivating truffles in Virginia, nice big gourmet truffles, not our native little nothing truffles that we get here. And it talks about the very long timeline that this family first planted trees in 2008 that had been inoculated with the truffle fungi, and a decade later they got about a quarter pound of truffles, but now they're up to 7 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's retailing for $60 to $80 an ounce. So 7 pounds is going to be a good chunk of change. So that was fun. Not too far from here. And just one last piece that I will pass along. Wired has this series of videos that they're putting out called Obsessed. And they did an episode on William Padilla Brown, who I believe used to be up in Baltimore, but now is in Pennsylvania. It's just a nice piece. They go out foraging with him, and then he shows some of his lab work, how some of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, how he cultivates things in agar and then into larger scale production for both edible and medicinal mushrooms. Cool. I think that's all I've got. I will stop sharing my screen and pass it on to Mitch for the ID table.